Hello and welcome to StudyWellToday. In this video, I will be doing a what's on my iPad to show you what apps I use and how I use them. But before we get started, I would like to kind of give you an update on how some of my accessories are holding up. In my last video, I did an unboxing of some accessories I purchased for my brand new iPad Air 4. And I just kind of want to give you an update as to how they're doing and how they're working out for me. So I guess we can start with the case. So this is the case that I have. It is just a clear TPU back. It is slightly frosted, so a frosted back cover, and pretty flexible. And it's just like a folio style case. And I think it's been working out really well for me. In my experience, I haven't like dropped it, so I guess the test of protection is something I don't really have right now, but it feels great when I'm holding it. It's very thin, and it also does the sleep-wake function. If you'd like to know more about this case, I would highly suggest you watch my unboxing video for these accessories, and I'll link it as an iCard above. The pencil case, it's great for being able to grip the pencil better. However, my only complaint is that this back piece tends to slide off a lot. It's a little bit loose for me. I don't know if that's just something that I'm experiencing or if anybody else has had that issue with this type of pencil case. I'll link all the products below so you know exactly what I'm using, and I purchased them all off Amazon. So yeah, that's the only complaint for this product here, but the body part of the silicone case is sticking on pretty well. So that's been fine. It's just this little back piece that tends to slide off a bit. Like if I push it back a little bit, it can easily pop off. So yeah, that's the only complaint I have, but other than that, it functions really well and basically does everything that I wanted out of an Apple Pencil case. As for the screen protector, it's been actually really great. It gives me friction when I'm writing on with the Apple Pencil, and it really does feel like a pencil, and it sounds like it too. I know the Paperlike is one that was really popular, but for a much lower price, you can get the one I have, which is iCares. I realized I was pronouncing that wrong throughout the whole video last time, so I apologize for that. But it's the iCares brand, and I'll link it down below as well, along with everything else. I highly recommend that you check it out if you're looking for a good screen protector that feels like a pencil, but it's also at a great price. So now we can start with the topic of this video, which is what's on my iPad. So I will start off by showing you my lock screen, and this wallpaper is one that I actually created. It's like a collage, and I'm planning on making a video showing you guys how I make these wallpaper collages to customize all my devices, so keep an eye out for that video. So if I unlock and go into the home screen, this is what you see up front. I set my settings so that it won't show my widgets on the home screen immediately, but if you do swipe right, they come up on the side here. So I have the weather, I have a little widget with just like a Pinterest picture that I found and thought matched the background and everything with the color scheme. Then I just have this widget that shows like the battery of your connected devices. Right now I just have the Apple Pencil connected, and then this is the battery of the iPad. And if I had my AirPods connected, they would show up here as well. So just any Bluetooth connected devices, your battery levels will show up right here, and I think that's really convenient. And then I have my productivity widget right here, which just shows the apps that I've used the most and for how long, and I think that's also useful. And the last thing I have here is just like some news, top stories, things that you can set through the news app. Moving into the actual apps, we can start up here. Most of these top ones are just the common ones that come with your device. So like calendar settings, photos, camera, photo booth, app store, notes, clock, contacts, reminders, voice memos. All of these are just apps that come with the iPad, so they're just the standard apps. But here we're getting into some of the ones that I've downloaded. So Uverse is where I get my live TV. I have AT&T, so our TV is through Uverse, and that is an app that you can use to watch live TV from all your devices. I have just the basic Apple News app, and then right next to it CNN, which is the news that I watch the most often. And then I have podcasts next to it, and if you would like to see, these are the podcasts that I have listened to. The one that I would recommend the most is The Daily Shine. It actually has guided meditations, and they post basically every weekday, and I think they're really helpful if you're trying to get into meditation and don't really know where to start. They basically guide you through the whole thing, and the recordings are about 5 to like 15 minutes long. So they're really easy to schedule into your day if you want to start a regular meditation routine. I would highly recommend using the Shine guided meditations. And there's also a Shine app, but that's not something that I've looked into that much yet. Mainly the podcast is what I use. Okay, so moving on, I have YouTube, which is basically self-explanatory. Right next to it, YouTube Studio, which I use to manage my channel. And then Netflix, which is a great app to have if you have a Netflix account, because iPads are mainly made for content consumption. So if you do have a Netflix account, it's great to have that app on your iPad. Next, I have Pinterest here, and I love using Pinterest for a lot of different things. This is what's on my For You tab, just a lot of things that kind of match my style, my aesthetic, I guess you could say. Can you guess my favorite color? Whoops. So I use Pinterest a lot when I'm making collages like the one you see on my wallpaper. It's also great if you're just wanting to get general inspiration for any sort of creative projects. Pinterest is really helpful for that. And I'm planning on making a Pinterest for my YouTube channel. So if you'd like that, please let me know in the comments, because then I could kind of make boards that match a whole theme, and then you guys can use those if you want to match with me in some of the pictures that I have on my wallpapers and widgets and things like that. And then I have Twitter, which the Twitter app, in my opinion, is actually very compatible with the iPad. I think they've done a really good job in making it versatile across all devices. Instagram, on the other hand, they have not done that yet. It doesn't work very well on a bigger iPad screen, so if I ever need that, it's mainly just for like emergencies if I don't have my phone around, but it's not very compatible for the iPad, but I still have it here just in case I need it. Right next to it, I have the Notion app, which this is something I just recently got to know about and started using. It's a great app to use for organization, and for me, I use it for school, and I think it's a great tool to organize like your notes and your class material, and also creating study schedules. Soon I hope to be coming out with a new video exploring more on this, because I really think that Notion is a great tool for students. The next app I have is Duolingo, and this is an app for basically studying any foreign language. For me, I use it to study Spanish because I took a few Spanish courses a few years ago and then I just stopped taking them, but I really wanted to retain the amount of knowledge I did have about the language. So using this app has been really helpful to kind of just refresh, and I try to do it every day. Through the app, you can actually set a goal for how long you want to practice every day. So for me, I do like a 15-minute session, and I think that's really helpful for retaining my knowledge of the grammar and vocabulary in Spanish. So the practice kind of looks like this, if you're interested. The next app I have is Amazon, and nowadays, since we don't go out that much because of the pandemic, we've been purchasing a lot of things through Amazon, so that's been very useful. Next, I have a series of folders at the bottom row. The first one is labeled Fun, and I only have 2 apps in here. I have app clips here first, and that's an Apple application. It's not something I know much of, but like I just opened it once and saw that it probably has fun purposes, so that's why I put it in this category. The only other app I have in here is Among Us, which I hope you know what it is. It's a great game. It's fun to play with friends, and also it's a great icebreaker game if you're getting to know new people and you want something to do. So yeah, I think this is a really fun game. So the next folder I have is called School, and this is just a lot of the apps I use for educational purposes. Duo Mobile is just a two-factor authentication app. Moodle is just a platform where a lot of my school's class information and assignments are posted. Zoom, something we've been using a lot these days. You probably already know what that is. Adobe Acrobat is an app I use to view PDF files. Quizlet is a great tool if you're trying to memorize vocabulary or to learn any sort of topic that would involve flashcards. If you have an account, it's great to have an app to use on the go if you have a mobile device that you'd also like to access your flashcards from. The next app I have here is Noteswriter, and this is an app that's really useful. It's very similar to Notability. If you look at the interface, it all looks very similar to Notability, and it really functions just the same. It's a free app, and you can annotate PDF documents on here. As you can see, I imported my chemistry textbook, and I was able to annotate here, highlight, and write notes on the margins as well. So you can do that, and you can also actually just start new documents and write. So you can create a new text note and actually just write, I think. So yeah. Oh, it converted my writing to text. So you can do a lot of things with this app, and it's completely free. It's very similar to any app like GoodNotes or Notability, as I mentioned, and if you're looking for a free version, if you're not wanting to spend the money on one of those more well-known apps, this is a great one to use. The only thing you will have to compromise on is the fact that there's ads on here. Because it's a free app, they do have to make money somehow, I assume. So the next app I have is called Metmoji Note Lite. This is another note-taking app, and it's also completely free. These are a few that I had actually got before I bought this iPad and before I had GoodNotes. I used these two apps on another device that I had. So I think if you're looking for a cheap version of GoodNotes or Notability, these are two that are very functional and have a lot of the same features as those other apps. The next app I have here is Adobe Scan, and I just use that to scan documents. It's a great app to use if you don't have a printer that you can scan from. You can just use the camera on the back of your device. The next app I have here is GoodNotes, and you all probably know this one. It's a very popular note-taking app that I personally use a lot for school. I can show you some of the notes that I have. So these are some notes I took for my final exam that I had. And so this is just a sneak peek. I will try to make a video showing you how I take notes, how I make summaries, and how I think the most effective ways to study are. And so this will definitely be a component of it, but here you can kind of get a chance to see my style of note-taking, and this is actually my summaries, so how I do note summaries for when I'm studying for exams. There's so many features on GoodNotes that you can use it. You can see at the top. And I hope to do another video as just kind of like a beginner's guide to GoodNotes on how to use it, how to use all the features, but mainly the main things to focus on that will help you be successful in taking efficient notes. So that's all that I have in this folder. The next folder that I have is called Creativity. The first app I have in this folder is Canva, and this is the app I actually use to make all of my thumbnails and also my channel banner. So I use Canva a lot for graphics design and things like that. I think it's really useful and very user-friendly if you're just like a beginner trying to do very simple things. Next, this is Adobe Illustrator, I believe, and I actually haven't used this app much. I just downloaded it because I saw during an Apple event they were talking about this app specifically and its compatibility to the new iPad Air actually. But then I realized that you actually have to pay for it, so I didn't end up getting it, but I just have the app here. The next app I have here is iMovie, and I actually use iMovie to edit my videos, but I don't use it on the iPad. I use it on my MacBook Pro, but I think it just came on the iPad, so I put it in this folder. The next app I have is Garageband, and this is also something I don't really use, but at one point, like many years ago, I did experiment around with Garageband. So if you're into music and putting beats together, I really think Garageband could be very helpful if you're an Apple user. The next app I have is Magic Eraser, and this is a free app that you can use to edit photos, to remove backgrounds and things like that. So it's useful for if you're trying to create transparent images. So the next app I have here is just a drawing app, and I just downloaded this because I feel like on every device I have at least one basic drawing app. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, but I don't really use it that much. I just have it on here. I don't know why, but yeah. Alright, so that's it for the creativity folder. The next folder I have is communication, and here I just have 4 apps, basically all centered around communication. Slack, which I use with some of my student clubs and organizations for sharing ideas. GroupMe is used for a lot of my class groups if we have any questions on homework and things like that. It's a good communication tool. Band is another one very similar to GroupMe, but it's got a few more features. It's actually one that I'm less familiar with, but I just started using this year. And then Discord is a very popular one. I actually just got a Discord account though, so it's something I just started using, but I know this one's very popular as well. The next folder I have is Google Apps, which basically just has a bunch of apps from the Google suite that I use: Drive, Hangouts, Docs, Slides, Sheets. Pretty basic. I actually use Google Drive to store a lot of my material, and my school actually has a base Google account, so that's very useful for me personally. It's great for organization if you're trying to keep all of your notes together, if you're taking digital notes, but also when you're writing essays and things like that. And also you can import like PDF documents in there, your assignments and everything. Drive is just a very versatile tool. The next folder I have is called Useful, and it just has other kind of random apps that I don't use as often, but are still useful to have. So I have a few Apple applications: Tips, Shortcuts, Apple Store, Numbers, Keynote, Pages, Measure, Files. Those are all Apple apps, and I use Files a lot actually when I'm downloading my notes off of GoodNotes when I'm done taking them. And then I have the GoPro app to control my camera, Safari, which I don't use. If you didn't notice, I have Google Chrome down here in my main bar at the bottom, and that's because I use Google Chrome instead of Safari on all my devices, on my laptop and my desktop and also my phone. So that's just why I have Safari in this small folder and not out front. And then I have Stocks, which I don't really use, but I guess it's useful. And then Widgetsmith for the widgets, which will come in handy when you're trying to customize your iPad, and is something I will definitely be using in my customization video when I make that. And then Find My, just something useful to have if you ever lose a device. Again, it's just another Apple application. And then on my next page, I just have Unused Apps. So these are all things that I don't really use, but come with the device. So that's iTunes Store, Maps, Home, TV, Books, and Music. The Maps app I don't use because I prefer Google Maps, and I actually haven't downloaded that and put it up here. But yeah, that's the reason I don't have the Apple Maps app on the front. And then down here, I just have all of my commonly used apps, and then also recently opened. So if I'm taking notes and I want to do like a split screen setup so I can take notes on one side and look at a document, it's very helpful to have like your most commonly opened apps, because if I GoodNotes open right before, I can just take it from this bottom tab and drag it to the side. So that's something I will also highlight in my note-taking video. So the apps I have stationed down here are the Messages, which I use very often, Mail, which I actually use a lot. I know a lot of people actually tend to complain about the Apple Mail app, but I actually use it a lot because it's great for me, since I have multiple email accounts to like manage them all in one place. I really like to use this app for. And then FaceTime, pretty self-explanatory. Then I have Google Chrome, which I explained earlier. I usually use this one for browsing and not Safari. And then lastly, I have Spotify. So that's basically it for what I have on my iPad. If you're interested in any of these third-party apps, I'll actually list them all down below and probably have a link on the App Store to the apps so that you can get to them. If you're interested in some of the ones I mentioned, especially with regard to the free versions of things like GoodNotes and Notability. So yeah, that's basically all I have for this video. If you would like to see some of my other content of videos that I mentioned here that I will be doing, I'd love for you to subscribe and stick around. Also, let me know if you have any feedback or suggestions in the comments down below, and leave a like if you liked the video. I'd really appreciate it. There are affiliate links in the description for any products that you saw in the video, and also links to some of the third-party apps that I talked about here. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.